Hey,
Yo, what's
how
up?
are you?
So good, so good.
Are you already getting used to working from home?
No, this is so weird for me. I've never worked from home ever before.
Really? No.
I'm kidding. I'm always at home. Like,
Yeah.
I'm never at the office. Man.
The only it would be the first software engineer I meet who is not used to that. Yeah. So, but how's it going? How's it? Are you still? Because last time I saw you, you were like, yeah. I've had all of these infections. I don't think it's a problem. Is that still your attitude?
I mean, it's my attitude in terms of like getting it myself.
Yeah.
It's not my attitude in terms of like spreading it to other people. So I'd rather like I actually don't know if I have it or not. Like so I have read that some people have it like so mild that they don't really know.
Yeah.
I have been coughing for 2 days, so I'm unsure now. But I don't feel anything. Like I don't feel fever or anything like that.
Okay.
So yeah. But I think that confinement makes sense. Given
Yeah.
that you definitely don't want to be spreading it. So
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I'm just staying home, and I have like every day I'm kind of coughing a bit, but I think
it's probably also psychological, right?
Yeah.
I think I've been reading so much about it that I'm just coughing because
yes, that's true. And I'm a hypochondriac anyway, so I will think that I'm ill in any case.
The internet is getting us sick.
Yes.
Basically.
Yeah, but I don't really know what I should do, like whether I can visit friends, and because I want to go gaming and drinking some beer, but one shouldn't even do that, I think.
Yeah, I don't know.
Let's see. Yeah, all right. So, yeah, thanks for your time.
No problem.
And so maybe just this give a bit of context. I'm currently writing my master's thesis on how the product development and deployment process looks like in the context of AI, and what companies who don't have any idea of that, like I don't know, Siemens or some incumbents, what they can learn from companies that do that very well. And so I'm doing a case study with just a single case study where I'm looking since even before Merantix Healthcare was founded, when Adrian and Rasmus were looking at all of the use cases, I'm looking at the entire product development process from then until now, trying to identify what are the key phases and what were the activities and what can companies learn in the future from this case. And so I'm interviewing kind of all roles. I started with Stefan and Max, and then I moved on to Moritz. Then today I interviewed Dipti, and now it would also be really interesting to hear your perspective from what you're doing, and maybe kind of find out what challenges were for you and what you did so far. I hope that makes kind of sense. And I won't be asking you like a catalog of questions. It can just be an open discussion, and you can just tell me anything basically, and I will analyze that later on. So maybe we can just start with the absolute basics, which would be when did you actually join Merantix?
That was almost like 2 years and 1 month, so it was February of 18.
Okay.
2018. Yeah.
So if I'm not mistaken, that means that at that point it wasn't even 100% clear that it was going to be mammography screening, right? From what I understood from Moritz and the others is that they were kind of still in an exploration phase, looking at different things. and mammography screening was also a prominent one, but it wasn't the only one. Or maybe you can just tell me what you did and what the focus was at that time.
Well, yeah, I remember discussions about maybe doing some like prostate screening, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But when I joined, I was definitely tasked with improving the viewer that we already had for mammography screening. So,
okay.
The one that we use for annotations.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of like the technology was built around it, but I remember that there were these discussions about like just trying something different.
Okay. So you were from the beginning. You were focusing on mammo, and that viewer was the viewer to for the radiologists that were then annotating the images, right?
Mm-hmm. To be more precise, so that viewer, Oli was working on that viewer, and it was completely client-side. And what we needed was kind of like a backend to save the annotations from radiologists. Mm-hmm. So basically, at that point, I think they had basically tried it out with people, but they weren't saving data per se.
Okay.
Like the data was lost. Mm-hmm. So the first task that I had was to build a backend for it, and to connect it to the viewer. That was it. Yeah.
Okay. So in the beginning you were, so maybe just in general, so in the beginning you were focused on that back-end part. What are you focused on now, just to get kind of, is it now also only back-end, or is it's not only back-end now, right?
No, it's the whole product.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
Okay.
But I'm not sure how to put it, but yeah, I work on all the layers of the product.
Yeah, okay. Makes sense. So at that time, were you you weren't the first, because before you the annotation viewer was already built. Was that Oli or?
So I didn't get the question. Sorry.
Were you the first or not? Probably not, right? Oli was the very first.
Yeah, Oli was the first engineer.
Yeah. Okay.
So he was the first engineer that, if I remember correctly, he was the first non-AI engineer of the company.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was the second. So basically, he was looking to hire. Merantix was looking to hire people, and he was on the lead of this recruitment process. And he contacted me through a friend, and so on. Yeah. I was the second. Then Evgeny was the third, and so on.
Okay, great. And so let's maybe talk a bit about how you started working, and in general, kind of, there's nothing specific I want to hear, but what's interesting is to hear, if that's possible, how you kind of interacted with the ML feature, because in the end I see it like there is the ML team that's building the algorithm and pushing the performance. There's the business team that's kind of seeing what the requirements are and building a case, and then there's you who's trying to fit that all together, right? Do I understand correctly? Maybe you can just speak about how you worked and how you interacted, especially also with the machine learning team.
All right. Yeah, so the interaction with the ML team didn't start. I think it started like maybe 7-8 months after I joined the company. So it wasn't something that was ready right there.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, at the beginning, as I told you at the beginning, I started with the annotation tool, and that was the only thing that didn't require any ML at all.
Yeah.
Actually, no, scratch that, because I'm forgetting an important part. So one of the first interactions with the ML team was actually providing them the data from the annotations, and also getting so. This maybe wasn't completely related to ML, but more like data processing. So they were providing me with these like huge amounts of DICOMs that they got from partners, and I would upload them to our system so that they would be annotated, and then I would provide them with a way to query these annotations. So that was related to basically data processing and data engineering. Also a little bit of business with Flow, because we also kind of like had these different data sets coming from different partners, and I also had to build this admin site so that he could kind of like admin those data sets and let them be annotated in different ways. So that was kind of like the first step. Then at some point, we moved towards the product, to building the product. And what we did was we took the viewer that we had for the annotation and basically rebuilt it into a different version, like similar but different version that started kind of like the core of the product. And then at some point we started the back end of the product, which is it was not for gathering annotation data, but to serve, like basically we call it cannula. And cannula is a medical term for a tube, basically, that receives stuff from one end, that is the partners that connect to us, and serve it to radiologists.
Cannulize.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I can type it out.
Yeah.
Wait. Yeah. So we started building that, and then I don't remember. I'm a little bit fussy on the timeline here, but at some point we started considering integrating with the ML product, and I did take the lead on that. I started working closely with Christian. He created a sort of let's say a service or a service that speaks certain protocol, and we basically kind of like come up with this protocol between each other. Like, okay, I'm gonna send you the path of 4 DICOMs, and you're gonna send me back like a data structure that looks like this way, and it's gonna have, I don't know, like a probability of suspiciousness and blah blah blah, and you got errors, you're gonna send it that way. So he worked on his end, I worked on my part of like having this ingestion pipeline that when we received the whole 4 DICOMs, we send them and so on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
and
maybe just to recap up to now. So first so very in the beginning you were completing the annotation view to create a backend for that, and then after that it was kind of you were integrating different things. You were taking the data that was collected, uploading it, and making it available for the ML team. Was that the cannulization process, or did I mix things up?
No, that's the backend for the annotation tool. So the annotation tool was in that case we weren't connecting directly to partners. So let me put it a different way. So right now, partners will send us data from their own IT systems. So, for example, from I don't know, in case of Telrats, they send their data from Spain directly to our server. That is this Cannula thing that I told you. Before, in the annotation era, what they did was I think they sent this NAS to some partners across Germany and some other partners also, I think, across Europe, and they would get them either filled with DICOMs, like physical hard drives with DICOMs, or they would have kind of like a SSH entrance. So basically, that's a remote login to one of their computers, and we would download the icons from their computers. But it wasn't kind of like an automated system or anything. It was more like a human-driven type of thing. Like you would have to go there with a hard drive, or you would have to log in and then download stuff from their computers, and then the ML team would give me normally a hard drive with data, and I would upload them in a somewhere in our IT system where we can start serving them to the annotators, to the radiologists that were annotating the data.
Okay.
So that was kind of like the first step. And also, well, we started having annotators. And so I don't know how much you know about that part, but you had kind of like some partners that will be sources of data, that will give you data, and some partners that will, or maybe even freelance annotators that will annotate data.
Yeah.
And Flo was in charge of mixing these two. So basically, making sure that all the sources, all the data sets from the sources were annotated by all the different partners on the other end. And our system, the one in the middle, would basically just collect all the annotations, so that the ML team could use them.
Okay.
That was kind of like the annotation era of the thing. And then came the product, in which we build the system so that there's no human interaction except basically the partner. So a partner and us figuring out how to connect our two computers, and everything could be automated, and like they just send us stuff, and then without human intervention, they get ingested into our TV and so on.
Okay. And so if we focus on that annotation era, where you were kind of trying to get that data manually onto the system and provide it to the ML team, can you talk about what you had to do? So basically, the goal was the ML team needs to access the data to train and test the model, right? But how did this look like exactly? How was this was a cloud solution, I guess, or can you? I mean, I'm not a technical expert, so if you go into too much technical details, it will be difficult. But maybe you can go one layer more detailed, and it doesn't matter if I don't understand anything. I can look it up later as well. So,
all right, I'm not sure how deep can I go, because so some part of this whole process was done by the ML team, and I'm not entirely sure what they did with the data, but I can tell you like what I provided. So these annotations, they come. So JSON, like the format. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, I've heard of that.
So these annotations were saved as JSON documents, let's say, and they were saved into a database. So basically, we had for each annotation, we more or less saved where were the points that the person annotated, what was like the mass, or like the type of classification, and so on. Several like data about the annotation. And we also tracked some metadata about like how much time did the radiologist took to annotate stuff, and so on. So with that, I would save that into a DB, and what I did was just provide access to that DB to someone in the ML team. If I remember correctly, that was Thijs. So. Yeah. So he basically queried that, and I know, if I remember correctly, I think they already had some sort of extra labeling over the data. I think they knew, like, for example, a data set was full of suspicious cases, or full of cancer cases, or so on, I think.
So the databases, there were different databases for these different types of data, or
no. There was only one database, but the studies were grouped by data sets.
In the metadata that was included, or
right, exactly.
okay.
Yeah. So you could recognize that an annotation belongs to a study that belongs to a data set that comes from a particular project.
Yeah.
So it was all related to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah. I don't know if that's as deep as I can.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good level of detail. So basically, that makes a lot of sense. You know, like one of the key differences between what we do at Marantix Healthcare and what, for example, an established company is doing, you know, they always call it data mining, and they usually have their pre-existing data set. They just query it, and then they can start the ML process, but that's kind of more the traditional way, because now you need much more of an exploration and an acquisition of data, and you need to build an infrastructure to even access that data, right, in our case. So that's why I wanted to know how we did it exactly. But so you had regular interactions with the ML team. You know, how did that work? Because I mean maybe that's very detailed now, but in terms of how you work together, you know, was this clear from the beginning, or how did you establish that you have to do it like that? You know.
To be honest, we didn't have much interaction, just because I think the technology that we were using was pretty standard. So and like there was nothing crazy there. Mm-hmm. So I think Thijs he in general doesn't have too much, let's say, knowledge of this more like to the computer science end of stuff. He's more on the mathematical, statistical, and machine learning part.
Yeah.
But he has enough so that I told him, okay, so the database is Postgres, so that's one type of database, and here's how you access it, and here's how you query, and then he figured out the rest.
Okay.
So our interaction wasn't like too we weren't talking about this every day. Like we talk about it 2 days or something like that, and then everything was fine.
Okay, so from that, basically, as soon as you established that, they were able to focus on querying and training and testing the model.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I also tell you that I might not be able to give you lots of detail here, because we didn't have too much communication on that, at least on that part. I usually had more communication with Flo and business team, because they wanted kind of like different features for like the admin side. Like, now I want to see which source partner has less annotations. Okay, let me build that. Now I want to see blah blah blah, like some other thing. But
makes sense.
At the end of the day, like transmitting the data back to the ML team, that was easy. That was like very smooth. Yeah.
No, I mean, that's exactly what I want to hear. Like, I don't want to hear something that doesn't exist. I want to hear the how you actually did it, and if the reality is that you didn't speak a lot with the ML team, that's already an insight. So, and the other side is still very relevant, like how you interacted with the business side and how you coordinated with Flow. Maybe you can, during the annotation era, maybe you can also summarize that quickly.
Yeah, I mean, that was the summary for it was that we had this bunch of data, bunch of studies. And a bunch of annotators, and then we wanted to aggregate and see that data in different ways. So that's why we had this, let's say, admin panel in which you would be able to assign radiologists to studies or data sets, and to basically what they wanted to do was just be able to query data by different types of things. Like, for example, I want to know which study is taking the longest to be annotated. Like, maybe there's a problem with that study. I want to know which radiologist is not annotating things on for weeks, so that I know if I have to call them or whatever. So basically, that was the interaction. So I mean, that's definitely more of an exploratory task in the sense of, or maybe I guess both were exploratory tasks, but from the business end, they don't know how to code or to query the things themselves, so that's why there was more interaction between us. From the ML part, they knew like that the process to query the data is pretty standard. There's a programming language for that. It's called SQL, and he would just use SQL to just query everything, and that's it.
Yeah. And also the business team obviously needed help to find these insights because they couldn't do it themselves. But did you then build an interface for them to use, or did you every time kind of just offer your querying services when they said, hey, I need to know this?
No, we definitely. So we use some sort of pre-built admin site that works well with the technology that we were using. But you have to basically add the features that they wanted. So, like for example, if they want to see an extra column with the time that a study takes to get annotated on average, then you have to code that and put it in the admin and so on. If you want to have a button to filter by source partner, then you have to code that as well. And that's it. Yeah.
So you then coded that when they needed it, and they could then use it.
Yeah, exactly. And I coded the thing that they wanted to query. Not, I didn't code the query and then give them the result, because that would kind of take a lot of time.
Yeah. And maybe this is a bit of a noob question, but if I think about analytics and visualization tools like Tableau, for example, do you know Tableau?
Tableau, no.
Tableau is like a tool with which you can perform analytics and create dashboards and data visualization, and you can connect different types of data to it. You can connect like simple forms like a Google Sheets or an Excel, and you can also, if I'm not completely mistaken, you can connect JSON databases as well. So maybe you know other examples of such an interface, but the question would be, why wasn't it possible to kind of connect the database to some sort of analytics tool where they could then self-serve and, just click some filters and have it? I mean, maybe it's a bit of a noob question, but...
It's a pretty good question. So the answer to that is twofold, I guess. So first of all, when we started building the backend for this, I mean, this might be a little bit too much detail, but maybe it's also useful.
Yeah, don't worry.
When I was hired for Merantix, I was hired as a Clojure engineer. So Clojure is a programming language, right? But the ML team and pretty much everyone at the company at that time, except Oli, were Python engineers. So at that moment, there was this one only guy who did Clojure, and now me. And then when we started to decide how to do the backend, we pitched Clojure, but they weren't super in love with the idea of continuing adding Clojure to the company. So they decided, okay, let's do Python. And I come from a Python background, so my previous job was a Python company, and so I decided to do it in the most standard Python backend framework, which is called Django. And then Django has its own admin side, which was good to kind of see Django comes with this admin side that provides kind of really simple queries over the data that you have. At that point, we were not thinking, okay, so that's the first half. Then the second half is, at that point, when we started doing this backend, we weren't thinking whether we would need an admin side or querying at all. It was basically a nice to have that Django provides for you, and then the business people started using it, and then they started requesting for it to be extended and extended and extended. At some point, this actually caused some friction between me and other people in the team. I started saying that, the Django admin tool wasn't built for what we were using it for. These very specific queries and like queries over a huge amount of data. Like that's not what it's built for, and we should change it. But we had already started working on the product, and we were kind of like working full time, like trying to go as fast as possible with it. So then basically every other change that we did on the admin was a hack over a hack over a hack over a hack over a hack.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically it's a matter of just trying to move forward faster with the other thing that we were working on, and trying to provide the functionality that they needed with the initial decision that we took based on basically technology preference.
Yeah, okay. So basically one can say, in hindsight, it might have been, if you had known that the business team needs to query and analyze all of this data, you would have done it differently. Is that, can one say that?
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah, not only that, I would have also done it differently. So I think I would have anyway started with the Django admin, because it's honestly like a pretty solid tool to like for small amounts of data and simple types of queries. But I would have allocated time to switch it once we got into like having 400,000 studies. At that point, what we were dealing with was too big for the tool that we were using.
Yeah.
I would have preferred if we would have allocated time to change it, but I also understand that there were some other priorities. So basically, that was the thing.
Okay. And if so, what would that have been technically? Which application or architecture would you have used then?
I mean, probably the same database, but there are these tools. The one that you mentioned, I don't know the one that you mentioned, but the ones that I have used are Kibana and Metabase. So one of those two, basically. And right now in the product, we are actually using Kibana. So.
Okay. Cool. Nice. That's a perfect level of detail. It's still enough for me to understand something, but still, exactly. So that was kind of in the annotation era. That was what you built and the challenge that you had then. And was there anything else that, like, apart from querying the data, any other touch points you had with the business team that were relevant?
No, not really. Maybe like all the things relevant to scaling. So the fact that we started getting more and more studies. I mean, as I told you, the admin tool started to be short for what we wanted. Also, the database had to be scaled out, and that was also kind of like a different problem that we had to solve. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Okay, and when would you say this when did the annotation era stop? Because aren't we still annotating stuff?
I think no one is annotating now.
Okay.
I think I'm not able to say when exactly, but it was decreasing from time to time. So there was a period in which both things overlapped. So there was annotation work and there was product work. And at that point, we actually considered several times hiring someone to just do annotation stuff. But since everyone at the company knew that the annotation was bound to stop at some point, it was finite, then it wasn't kind of like a good decision to maybe bring someone for, 3 to 6 months or something like that. So those days were difficult basically because both systems were built on different technologies. The product one was kind of like this cool thing that was being designed for the first time, while the annotation tool was an old thing that was hack on top of hack on top of hack.
Yeah.
So no one really wanted to touch the annotation tool
Yeah.
much. I was the one who wrote it, and basically I was the one who had to most of the time. But yeah, so basically they overlapped, and I'm not entirely sure when it stopped, but at some point we stopped getting requests from it. And right now, I think there's still some work going on there, and Benjamin does it. But I don't think it's necessarily for annotations. I think they still use that database as a... It's mostly, the work that they do, I think is mostly about the data that we collected in the past. But it's not about serving more icons to be annotated. It's just about creating different queries or organizing the data differently and so on.
Okay. So then the second, so even though we can't pinpoint when the next era started, but the next era was characterized by just, we didn't need any data anymore, so we didn't, I mean, we had a lot of data, it was annotated, we didn't need to manually gather that, so what was then this next phase, or the phase that we're in now? Was that just to build a product that was able of creating a feedback loop with data, or how would you describe that?
Yeah, so I mean, as I say, they overlap. At some point, when we have kind of like a stable version of the annotation tool, we decided, okay, now let's focus completely on building this product. That was, I think, I'm not entirely sure if Evgeny was with us at that point. We also brought in a freelancer, and we started working on the front end. Based on the front end for the other version, for the annotation tool, and the back end this time using Clojure instead of Python. And I mean, that was basically a bunch of early decisions, like how do we represent the partners associations here. Is it going to be studies from this partner are going to be able to be read by the studies from this partner, or is it going to be more granular, like these studies, doesn't matter from where they come from, are going to be able to be read by, I don't know, these radiologists. So figuring out different other things that are kind of like above this particular domain problem, like how are we gonna handle logging from users? How are we gonna make the front end communicate with the back end? Blah blah blah. And then while that was happening, we started growing the Clojure team, and then I don't know. I don't know if you have something in particular that you would want to know. I'm not able right now to pinpoint like interesting milestones.
No, that's perfect. So I mean, that's actually very good. So to get a full picture, because we had a big focus on the annotation thing, and just so before I let you go, to have a full picture. You were actually starting very well. So you mentioned you focused then on the issues like logins, front end, communicating with back end, starting growing the Clojure team, and so on. And how did that then continue to the point that we are right now?
Okay, yeah, I think I know how to summarize it better. Okay, so let's say the way that we started building the product was, first we started on the front end, then we started on a subset of the back end that was meant to serve the front end, but not to get studies from partners. So you can imagine, like, the status quo of our back end is that it's basically split in two phases. One is this ingestion phase, which is basically the part to which partners connect to and send studies, and then we process them. We get the predictions and do all that stuff, and then once that's done, they come to kind of like the other half of the backend, which is the one that talks to the client, the one that knows. Okay, so this browser is making a request to authenticate, to log in. Okay, I'm gonna give it a token. Okay, so this the person who authenticated is from this partner. Okay, so the stories that they can read of the ones that we have ingested already are this and so on. And like all of these, like, okay, I want to save a new read, I want to, I don't know, list my work list, and so on. So so that's the status quo. The first thing that we did was the front end, then this half of the back end that serves the front end, and then we started working on the second half of the back end, which is the ingestion part. And that's more or less where we are right now. Then we started working on actually connecting to partners, like starting to get actual data coming in from partners. That was more of kind of like a networking type of task, because we needed to figure out how to safely connect to, given that this is, sensitive data. It needs to be secure, and yeah, I think that basically brings us to today. Maybe the only other part that the other only milestone that we started building recently is that we started noticing. Oh, well, yeah, I think I also skipped one other interesting part. So. The partners that we were connecting to, they all had their own ways to represent their data. Right? So a partner might have, might have a specific notation for BI-RADS. Maybe this is not the best example because BI-RADS are more or less standard across the world, but maybe they would have, they would have different things, like maybe they would have the assessment for a study could be either normal or not normal, but for another partner would be something different. Like
I can
so
say
we needed to, for each partner, so we needed to build a system that was resilient to partners' preferences. So for each partner we had kind of like a translation layer, basically. So partner, Telrats would give us their data, and then we would have a translation from their data to what we are expecting, and then for each other partner, we basically would normalize their data to a particular thing that we would like, and that's it. And then for each new partner, we basically do that. And then the other thing that we've been building recently, the last two things would be, at some point we realized that the partner data could have things that our viewer, like the last part, won't be able to support. So like, for example, could have DICOMs that we are not able to display, or could have studies that have, let's say, less than 4 DICOMs, and we don't know how to display those. And before, what would happen is that basically we would just try to ingest this thing and produce an error when someone would try to see it. And what we're doing now is basically validating everything at the very beginning. So we're moving the same validation that we do on the front end. We moved it to the most back end so that we can reject studies early on and just not show them. That has kind of like increased the stability of the product a bunch. And and the other important thing that we have built also relatively recently is so all of these partners that I was telling you about, we call them push partners. They basically send information to us, so they push information to us. But then we started trying to connect to partners that are not push partners but poll partners. So they have an API and we have to poll from time to time from them. And then we created kind of like this different system called the poller. Right now we call it the poller, and it's basically just constantly asking, like, for example, mask partners, they have this API, and then we're constantly asking them as well.
Okay,
I
okay.
think that pretty much constitutes everything that we have right now in the product.
Okay, perfect, great. Yeah, thank you. Maybe the last question, although I think I already know the answer. So nowadays, in this more product focused, stability focused, deployment focused phase, do you or does the software engineering team have any conflicts or issues or just general touch points with the ML team, or is that like completely independent?
Yeah, from time to time. Like it depends on what we want to do. Last time that we discussed things was so right now predictions, they take a lot of time, and they also take a lot of resources of the computer where you're running things. So given that right now we're running everything on the same server, we thought, okay, let's put the prediction part on a different server, and maybe we can put I don't know if you know the concept of a load balancer, but it's basically one server that receives stuff, and then you have a bunch of other computers that do exactly the same thing, and then the load balancer picks the one that's free and sends a request. Like acts as a one thing that represents a bunch of other nodes.
Yeah.
So right now we're working towards that, and that's, I think that was like 2 months ago, but it's not super frequent. I mean, the protocol between the ML product and the product is it's pretty much established, and it doesn't changes too much. So it's it's stable. But from time to time, we decide we want to kind of like improve things, and that we just discuss with Christian.
All right, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. No, that's perfect. Yeah, thank you so much. It was really valuable. Maybe, I don't know if you have that, but to what I'm also collecting next to interviews is also kind of archival documents. Generally, these are not going to be published, and anyway, if they are, we are going to have an NDA if needed, and I've already talked about that with Max. But if you have, I think there are two types of documents that if you have them and it's not a big workload for you to give them to me, would be interesting. The first one would just be maybe a screenshot of the annotation tool, if you can access that, if that's possible, and
you can access it.
Really?
It would be better if you do it, actually.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah.
Yeah, I can send you the address and
perfect.
My username and password.
So that's the first thing, and the second thing is kind of, don't know whether you have that, but whether you have overviews of the architecture of the front end, back end, or any documents relating to that. It's if you have those at hand.
We do. We have. So there's an old one that is printed on a piece of paper, and if you want to go to the office, you can take a photo of it. It's in the closure case.
Oh, shit.
But there are more up-to-date ones in the whole tech doc. So I can point you to the tech doc.
Okay, yeah, that's perfect. That would be great. Yeah, currently, as I'm in Switzerland, as the world is contaminated, I won't go to the closure cave. It's like really a dangerous trip. But if you could send me that link, that would be great. If you could point me to that.
Sure, no problem. Yeah.
Perfect.
I won't do it right now. And I have a bunch of meetings during the afternoon. But if I don't have it, like if I haven't given it to you by the end of the day, just bring me again. I might have just forgotten.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah, no, that's perfect.
All
right. Well, then thanks so much for your time and for your insights. That was great. And stay safe, stay healthy.
You too, man.
And talk to you soon, mate. All right.
See ya.